Hi families, Miss Gildard here. I wanted to go through the week 3 ELA assignment. Now you notice that this week the district went a little easy on you guys. So we actually only have one ELA assignment, and the suggestion in the pacing guide is to split it between 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. So here I am on the home page of the My Learning course. I see some announcements at the top. Boys and girls, make sure that you are clicking on those announcements and either reading them yourself or having moms and dads read them to you, because your teachers post really important things here. So don't skip that step. Now I can either go down and click on the rocket ship for Learn, or on the left, I can click on modules right here if I want to get to my learning for the week. So I'm going to click on Learn, and here are my modules. And I'm going to scroll down until I get to week 3. There's week 3 right here. And the suggested pacing guide for week 3 is right here. And I'm going to take a look at what I'm supposed to do each day. Here's Monday. And if you scroll down to Tuesday, that's when we actually begin the ELA lesson 9.04. If you look at Wednesday, it says finish ELA lesson 9.04. And there is actually a quiz at the end of this week's ELA lesson rather than a normal assignment to turn in. So I'm going to show you also where I would suggest stopping on Tuesday. So I'm going to go back to modules and scroll down. Remember, ELA is always after all the math stuff here. And here's my lesson. Now the chain link here means that this is the lesson. And then the rocket ship means this is my quiz. Now, if instead, let me show you on science, for example, there's a chain link on the lesson and then a little, what looks like a piece of paper and a pencil, that means there's an assignment. That's for science. But if I go back to ELA, there's a rocket ship. So that tells me that I'm going to have a quiz and it's going to be worth 20 points. So I'm going to click on the lesson 9.04, Rhythm and Meaning, the Wandering Wind. Okay, so here it is. If you know it, show it. So he's telling you here that you've learned a lot about words, and we are going to continue practicing words. So if I scroll down here, I want you guys to notice these little green arrows that look like part of a triangle. If you see those on a page with these little dots like this, that means that there are slides here for you to click through. So your job here is to look at the picture and read the word on your own. If you get stuck and you need some help, you can click right here.
Cow.
This says cow. What do you think this one says? Remember, it's going to follow one of the spelling patterns that you've learned. I see an OU in this word, and I know that OU says ow. So this word is found. What about this one? Look at this arrow and read this word. Did you say down? That's it. Now remember, if you get stuck and you can't figure it out, click the little speaker button and they'll read the word for you. What about this one? This is a different spelling pattern. You might look at this and say frog or baby, but if you look at this, that doesn't match those sounds. What's this word? This is a tricky word that we had. This says all, so just put the blend sm in front of it. Did you say small? That's it. We got 2 more here. What about this one? This is a tricky picture, I think, because this would make you guess lots and lots of words. But if I look down here, I know that this OUGH is one of the spelling patterns they've had you working on this week. And it just so happens that this word is also one of the tricky words, I think maybe for 1B or 2B. Did you read it as enough? It's tricky because it does not follow normal phonics rules at all. The GH does not make the sound that you think it would make. Enough. And the last one here, what's that word? This little boy is thinking did you say thought? That's it, you got it. And see how this is grayed out now? I can't click on it anymore and there are no more dots. So that tells me I did all the slides. So I'm going to scroll down and it says, now it's time to practice spelling your own words using the spelling patterns from your review. So I'm going to click on this giant play button. Challenge yourself. Spell at least 3 words for each of these sound categories. OU, which says ow. I said OU. OW, but you know what I was thinking? OU and AW both say ow. AW, which says ah, like what you say when you go to the doctor and he wants to look at the back of your throat. Ah. And short U, the short U sound is Okay, now these are actually going to go away when I click OK. So it might be a good idea to have a paper and pencil to write these 3 sounds that you're supposed to be making words with down. Oh, I'm using pretend refrigerator magnets here. So I'm going to separate all these letters out so I can see what I got here. And then you're just supposed to take a few minutes and build some words. Just get some practice. Okay, so if I know the spelling patterns I need to use, for example, AW for aw, I'm going to put those up on my fridge. And then I'm just going to add some beginning sounds and some ending sounds until I make a real word. Okay, so you can play with that a little bit. And then down here, what will I learn in this lesson? So this is telling you what everything in the whole ELA lesson for today is going to be. I will be able to use spelling patterns to form words. We've already done a little bit of that. Identify words and phrases that convey rhythm in a poem. And if you remember, the word convey is a fancy word that just means shows or explains or gives an example of. We're going to see words and phrases that show rhythm or give examples of rhythm. Use commas. Write a multiple paragraph opinion text. Okay, scroll down. I don't see anything else. I'm going to go back and click on the green arrow for the next page. Word work super spelling. So let's see here. Our little turtle friend says, "It sure is good to see you again. I miss my old tortoise friends in India, but learning with you brightens my day. Let's get started. I can't wait to see how you use the spelling toolkit to help you spell new words." When trying to spell a new word, you don't need to use every tool in the spelling toolkit, but you should use the ones that will help you. So they're going to go down here and, oh, look what I see again, little green arrows and the green circles. This tells me that I need to scroll through these and look at each one. So they're just helping you with some reading tools that help you sound out words or figure out tricky words when you're stuck. The sound magnifier, the word hammer, the vowel sound measuring tape. This is important. We've talked about this a lot this year. Decide if you hear long or short vowels. Remember, the long vowel sound is when the vowel says its name. Good. And the short vowel sound is the other one. So the long A sound is the name of the letter A, which is just A. Yep. And the short A sound is a, like an apple. The next one is the RR detector. Think of a rule or rhyme that will help you spell the sounds you hear. The pocket dictionary. This one is just using a dictionary to check your spelling. And then the word drill. Think about the root words. Think about what you hear at the beginning and the end. That's going to be for longer words. Listen to the word. Which tool might help you spell this word? So I'm going to click play.
Sought. S-A-U-T. Sought.
And if you couldn't hear the audio, she says sought. S-A-T. Sought. So if I look back through my tools and I think, which tool would be the most helpful for listening to the sounds in that word and figuring out what the whole word says together? And if you go down here, they're going to help you out. The sound magnifier. What letter sounds do you hear? Well, at the beginning we heard S. That's easy. That's an S. We also heard the ah sounds. Now, I know that a few different things make up ah. One of them is AW, but another one is OUGH. And for this word, it uses OUGH. And then what you hear on the end is T. Now, if you picked a different tool, that's okay. What matters is that you're using some sort of strategy to figure out a word you don't know. Okay, so you want to go through the slides here and do just a little bit of practice. Listen to the sound. Maybe get a paper and a pencil or a whiteboard if you got one at home, and try to write down the sounds that you hear. Okay, there's just 3 here for you to practice, so don't skip that because that's really important. And then it says try it, look up each of the words in the dictionary. If you have a dictionary at home, or if you know how to search words in the online dictionaries on your computer or your tablet, then you can go ahead and take a couple minutes to do that. Remember when they say try it, and there's no specific assignment here, it's just an activity for you to do for some extra practice. All right, that's the end of that page. So I'm going to click on the next green arrow. And if I'm wondering where I am in my progress here, how much longer I've got, I can click my progress and see I'm on page 3, and there's 12 pages in this lesson. Now remember, the suggestion is to do half of this lesson on Tuesday and the other half on Wednesday. So we are going to stop at some point. Well, we're not going to stop, but I'm going to show you where you should stop when you go through and do this lesson. Okay, so let's scroll down here. Listen to the words and use your spelling strategies to help you spell the words. Write the words in your interactive notebook. Now, when they tell you that, they just mean if you've been using a journal or a notebook at home for your work, then do this practice there. If you haven't been, just get a pen or a pencil and a blank sheet of paper. If you have a whiteboard and dry erase markers, then use those. Everywhere that it says interactive notebook, it just means grab something to practice writing this work in. So if you don't have a paper and a pencil, you're going to want to go grab one before you go through this part of the lesson. Okay, so I'm going to play each of these words, and then you are going to practice writing them down. Okay, so we're just going to do 2 together, and then you can go to the lesson later and go through the other ones on your own. Okay?
Down.
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 Down. So if you don't know how to spell that word, count the sounds on your fingers. Down. Down. Try to write down what you heard. Okay, and here's the next one.
Almost.
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 Almost. So do you hear a smaller word inside almost, like the word most? You might know how to spell the word most, and then you just have to add all at the beginning. See how we do this activity? So there are a few here for you to practice, and that's really important because these are the types of activities that we would do in small groups, like on the floor together on whiteboards or at our desks or even at Miss Gildard's horseshoe table. So you don't want to skip doing these because these are the things that are going to help you read words and write words better. Okay, and that's it for that page. So I'm going to go to the next one. Ready to read. Time for some tongue twisting fun. First, listen to each tongue twister, then record yourself, reading out loud. Beware, these funny sentences may twist your tongue. So if you know all of these words, you can go ahead and read it on your own. Or you can press the play button, they'll read it for you, and then you can repeat it back. I wish a wacky wish. Say that out loud right now. I wish a wacky wish. Let's try this one. Harry's hooves hit the hard hay. Say that. Harry's hooves hit the hot. Look what Miss Gildar just did. I'm actually glad that happened because that happens to readers even when we're adults. We mix up words. And do you see how when I went back to reread, I caught my mistake? That's really, really important that you guys do that too. It's okay to make mistakes in your reading. When you catch yourself, good readers go back and reread. All right, let's try this one again. Harry's hooves hit the hay hard. Boy, that was a tongue twister. Harry's hooves hit the hay hard. Okay, so and there's one more here for you to do. And then down here, this is where they want you to record yourself reading them, and then you can press the play button and hear yourself how you read them. Okay, now if you go back and listen to yourself reading those tongue twisters, and you use your fingers as drumsticks to tap out the rhythm of the tongue twisters on your knees or on your tabletop or on your arm, tap out each syllable. Do you notice how each one's rhythm is a little bit different? So let's go back to this first one. I wish a wacky wish. I wish a wacky wish. I hear 6 syllables. I wish a wacky wish. Do you hear those 6 syllables? Not words, but syllables. Okay, so let's do this one. Harry's hooves hit the hay hard. Harry's hooves hit the hay hard. That one has 7 syllables. That's a little bit different. Okay, so that's what they're trying to get you to notice. Did you notice that each tongue twister has a different rhythm? Okay, I'm going to click this down arrow here. Each tongue twister has a different number of syllables. The number of syllables in the line of a poem makes those lines sound different. Okay, they're going to talk about that more on the next page and in the rest of the lesson. So I'm on page 4. I'm going to go on to page 5 here. Perfect purple pencils. Perfect purple pencils. These tongue twisters sure were thrilling. Each tongue twister has its own rhythm because of the amount of syllables in each. Look at the beginning sounds of each word in the tongue twisters. Now, we've talked about that a little bit this year, but do you notice the same beginning sound in a lot of these words? I wish a wacky wish. What sound, not the name of the letter, but what sound do you hear over and over again? I wish a wacky wish. Do you hear all the words that start with w, w? It's got to be the beginning sound in a word, w, w. What about this one? Harry's hooves hit the hay hard. What sounds do you hear over and over again? Did you say, yep, that's it. That's called alliteration. Say alliteration. Alliteration is when the line of a poem has several words that begin with the same sounds. And that makes the line of a poem really roll right off your tongue. It makes it more fun to read, and it makes it so that you're able to read that line in the poem a little bit faster. Listen to this one. Just like the polar bear who is preparing with perfect purple pencils for his project, you can create your own alliteration. What beginning sound do you hear over and over and over again there? That's right. Okay, so down here is a matching game. We're going to click on pairs of letters that start with the same beginning sound. Like, for example, falling, frogs. See how it went away when I clicked the right pair? Okay, so that's a little game for you to play, and then I'm going to click next. The wandering wind. Now notice this word. Wandering means like to go out someplace and go exploring, or take a walk and look what's around you, or to go out searching for something. It's a little different than if there was an O here. If there was an O here, this word would be wondering, which means you have a question about something. Wondering. That's different than wandering. They sound very similar and they're spelled almost the same, but make sure you know the difference. As you read this poem out loud, put your listening ears on. Listen for two elements that use sound to create rhythm in this poem. So we're going to listen for two things: rhyming words at the end of the lines and alliteration. Remember, alliteration is when there's lots of words in a line of the poem that start with the same sound. Okay, I'm going to read this poem to you guys. The Wandering Wind, written by Jasmine Patel. The wandering wind is exploring the wood. It whistles with glee as it approaches the trees. But the wind continues on as it should. The wandering wind is exploring the waves. It is a calm breeze along the seven seas. The wind could waver on shore for days. The wandering wind is exploring the hills. It's rough and it's fast as it's caught in a tease. The mountains give the wind its thrills. The wandering wind is exploring the desert. It growls with sadness. There's no water to see. It needs a good shower to cure the wind's hurt. Okay, so did you hear words that rhymed, and did you see alliteration? The wandering wind is exploring the wood, but the wind continues on as it should. That's right. Would and should are the rhyming pair. The wandering wind is exploring the waves. The wind could waver on shore for days. That's right. Waves and days are the rhyming pair there. See if you can scroll through the poem when you get to this lesson yourself and find the other rhyming pairs. Okay, the other thing we were supposed to listen for was alliteration. You want to scroll back through this poem and see if you find lines in the poem where there are a few words or a bunch of words in the line that all start with the same sounds. Like, for example, what about the title that we see over and over again? Wandering Wind. Is that alliteration? Yes, it is. What sound do both words start with? Okay, so let's scroll down here. Oh, and I do want to point out that you can also press play and it'll read the poem to you as well. Okay, print a copy of The Wandering Wind to listen to or read again. If you don't want to print it or you don't have a printer at home, you can just go back up to the poem right here on the screen and read it just right from the screen again. Okay, then you have two lessons here. I'm sorry, not lessons, activities. You have activity 1, which focuses on looking for rhyming words. And then activity 2, which focuses on looking for alliteration. Now, both of these lessons say use the text selector from the toolbox. So I want to show you how to do that. If you scroll up here, you have several pictures at the top. This one right here that looks like a wrench in front of a gear. You guys see that? If I click on that, the very top one says Text Selector. I'm going to click on that and this box pops up. I can move this out of my way anywhere on this screen. The way you do this is you scroll back up to the poem. I'm going to put a box around rhyming pairs because that's the first thing it told me to do. So I'm going to click on the box right here. And then I'm going to highlight the word. And there you go. The other one right here, highlight it. Oh, I'm sorry, you highlight by holding down the cursor on either your trackpad or your mouse, or if you're on a tablet, just dragging your finger across it. Hold this down so it highlights it, and then I'm going to click on the box, and I'll put a box around it. Okay, so when you're all done, you can click on this X to close this. Okay, so make sure you do both of these activities. And then it's actually going to let you check your answers here too. It'll give you some help if you had trouble with the activities. Okay, and I think next I'm on page 7. And this is actually where I suggest stopping at the end of Tuesday. Because once you finish page 6, you're done with a lot of the phonics and the stuff involving poems. So I suggest stopping here for now, and then on Wednesday, coming back, and then you'll go on to page 7. Now remember, when you come back on Wednesday, you can click on My Progress and just go right to page 7. You don't have to click back through all of the pages again. This, from this point to the end of the lesson, it's going to review commas and have you do some writing. And it is going to do a little bit of review with poems as well. So I hope that helps you guys out with ELA for the first half of the lesson. Come back and look for a video later on that's going to help you with the second half of the ELA lesson. Bye, guys.